Well, Julius Kipng'etich, their Chief Executive, Uchumi Supermarkets Limited, joining us here to ring the closing bell of today's trading day. This is a trading bell. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Later on, I'll be talking to Elizabeth Wangeshi, Head of Research at Jamii Capital. And of course, we'll be looking at the figures, who moved, and of course, we'll be helping you to understand those figures. But for now, we talk to Julius Kipng'etich on the turnaround strategy of Uchumi Supermarket. Kip, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And welcome to the Trading Bell.
Welcome.
Please. Now, from being a teacher, conservationist, a banker, to a retailer, what has been the experience?
There's one constant thing across all those institutions, which is good governance and good management. That's it. I come from a background of a business school, the University of Nairobi Business School, and we were taught well, and we were taught how to utilize our skills across many industries.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why, for me, moving from investment promotion to teaching at the university to conservation, the one constant thing is just how do you govern an institution well?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so you came from the banking industry,
yes,
and you are headhunted to lead Uchumi. What is so unique about the current challenges that you're going through?
The challenges of Uchumi are revolving around governance issues. And the oversight institutions that were supposed to check it failed internally, and some of them failed externally. We have corrected that, and the only thing remaining for Uchumi now is just injection of capital into the business, and it flies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When you talk about oversight institutions that failed,
Yes.
number one, we know that the board of the former board of Uchumi, had there has been a lot of
Yes.
accusing fingers. Externally, who do you have an accusing finger?
The auditors did not do their job as expected, okay? The external auditors. And any audit is about verification. And in verification, you look for evidence. And the evidence was already there that something was wrong, but the auditors did not play their role correctly. And it is even more important for a listed company that the auditors play a more diligent role, because the investing public always rely on the word of the external auditor. Internally, it's the directors, externally, it's the auditors. The two of them must work together,
Mm-hmm.
and so therefore give results that reflect a true and fair view of the operations of the company, and by extension, then the investing public will have the correct information to make good judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, when you joined Uchumi, I mean, the business was almost collapsing,
Yes.
if not collapsed.
Yes.
What steps or what steps have you managed to recover in the process so far?
We had a 3-point plan when we arrived, and the 3-point plan was, one, was stop the bleeding, so that then we can stabilize the company. And what we did is we closed some operations which were not profitable, and there was no evidence that they were profitable either before
Mm-hmm.
or in the near future. And that is why we closed Uganda and Tanzania operations. We said, let's temporarily close it until we re-examine what was the approach, because none of them had made any profits.
Mm-hmm.
And then some stores in Kenya, we also closed them. We'll close 7 of them, and now we have 20 stores. We believe that the 20 stores which are remaining, with the injection of capital,
Mm-hmm.
they fly. So we had to stop the bleeding very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second point was to rationalize its operations. There were many things which were horribly wrong, and we had to rationalize. One was excess staff. Uchumi, in all its operations, had 4,000 members of staff. It was not sustainable. We have now reduced that to 1,500. So there are only 1,500 members of staff remaining. And so we rationalized its processes. Many things were not documented, even as basic as an HR manual. So all that are in place. So we have a procurement manual, we have an operations manual, we have a finance manual. Everything is now documented, and every member of staff knows what is expected of them at any one time. So we have rationalized all its functions, and it's a continuous process. And that's where we are now. The next step, in the 3-point plan, is to look at growth. That's where now capital is required. So we have reorganized its balance sheet. We are selling non-core assets. One has already gone. A second one is due for sale anytime now. And then we are also raising money from the shareholders.
From the shareholders?
Yes. So we are looking at asking, we have already asked for a shareholder loan from one of the shareholders, which is Kenya government. The first tranche of 500 million will come through.
The first
yes, the first tranche.
Of 500?
Yes.
Okay.
We are asking for a shareholder loan of 1.8 billion.
1.8 billion?
Yes. And then
this
we
is
will
from the government?
From the government as a shareholder. And we are also shortly we'll be discussing with the investing public and the shareholders possibility of a strategic investor coming on board. A strategic investor? Yes.
We know for sure Jamii Bora Bank is your second biggest shareholder. Have you approached them for any funding?
Yes, we have held discussions with the Jamii Bora Bank. They say they don't have money for now, but they are willing to accommodate other investors to come on board.
How much were you looking from Jamii Bora?
I'm not free to tell it now.
Please, you are free.
But that's a confidential information between me and one of the shareholders as management. But they said they don't have that kind of capital at that particular moment.
I want you to be candid enough and tell me, how much money do you think you need to turn around the fortunes of Uchumi as we stand now?
Now, we require roughly around $50 million. $50
million. That's
yes,
about
that's 5 billion
shillings.
Okay. So with the loan from government
of 1.8
billion.
1.8 billion.
Okay.
Shillings.
That will substantially fill. We are also asking some of the suppliers to convert some of the debt into equity. Okay. We have asked them to convert 1.8. So in total, we'll have
3.6.
3.6. So we now have just a financing gap of around 1.4. Yes, they have agreed in principle. It's just a question of we are looking at now the deed of conversion. How much, at what price do we convert at? Okay, and it will be voluntary. Okay, so either convert or you wait a little longer for the debt to be paid. So we already have a restructured plan, and we are following it so that then we arrive at a solution that is fair to all parties, fair to the existing shareholders. There will be some level of dilution, and then also fair to the suppliers, because it's a balancing act. Yes.
The same thing happened back in the year 2006, whereby, some suppliers, turned their debt into equity.
Yes.
But there were some complaints that the suppliers never got value for their money. What is this that you are going to tell them, or that you are telling them?
It's not true that some suppliers never got value for their money. The conversion price was around 10 shillings. There are some who waited for Uchumi to peak, and it peaked at 22. So you convert into shares your debt at 10 shillings, and then you sell it at 22. So there are those who benefited. Those who were patient benefited handsomely. So we are telling them we are in the same process, but I want to assure the country that this will be the last time Uchumi will be in trouble. The systems we have put in place will make sure that it doesn't get into trouble again.
How much do you owe as debt?
We owe our suppliers 3.6 billion, and then the banks we now owe around 1.2 billion. So that just is the debt for Uchumi. There's nothing else more than that. The suppliers
so about
and the banks. 4.2
billion shillings.
That's true. Yeah.
Are you in talks with them?
We are in talks with the suppliers, and that is why we agreed on a new arrangement. The new payment arrangement is such that whatever new goods we receive, we pay them within 30 days. And that is the most efficient payment
within
in the industry.
What about the old debt?
The old debt, we said we pack it until we raise more capital, and also when we sell some of the assets. And then, of course, the strategic investor will just focus on the growth part. We want, by the time the investor comes, we'll have substantially dealt with a large part of that debt.
Is this an agreement that you have with all the suppliers?
Yes. We have an organization called the Suppliers Council, which we interact with regularly, and we are in discussions with them. And in January, we are due for another suppliers conference to tell them where we are now. And that's when we'll also introduce the deed of conversion. At what price do you convert?
At what price?
Yes.
Tell me this, I mean, when you look at Uchumi, the future of Uchumi, you know, at a time when e-commerce is picking up pretty fast, you know, growing at a rate of 45% annually. When you have new players coming into the market, we're talking about Carrefour France and Massmart of South Africa. Do you see the future of Uchumi actually, or should we close shop and forget about it?
No, we understand Kenya's market very well. And you will see when we roll out the strategy for Uchumi that we understand the market very well. One of the things I pride in is I understand my country much better than anybody else. Other players coming in the market make too many assumptions about Kenya's market. When Michael Joseph said Kenyans are peculiar, if you don't understand that peculiarity, you'll always make mistakes. And that's why as we said, let any player come on board. I mean, how many players have come to the telecom market and couldn't crack it? It's just because Safaricom understood the market very well. Similarly, in the banking industry, if you look at Equity Bank, where it was, why has it risen? And there are other players who have been in the market for 100 years. There's something they never understood. I want to tell the investing public that we understand the retail market very well. And once we start rolling out our strategy, they will understand that actually there's incredible potential for growth in the retail market.
In 15 seconds, I want you to face this camera and tell the people watching this program, when can they expect Uchumi to rise on her feet?
Rising is a process. It's not an event. And we are already on that rise. We probably are still at the foundation, and the building is not yet clear what it will be like, but it is clear in our mind. And I want to tell all Kenyans that Uchumi will rise again, and watch this space. In the next 1 year, Uchumi will be very different from what it is today.
Kipng'etich, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the Trading Bell.
Thank you very much.
Julius Kipng'etich, Managing Chief Executive Officer, Uchumi Supermarkets, joining us here on the Trading Bell to help us understand the process of getting Uchumi back on her feet. This is the Trading Bell. Coming up next is our market analysis with Elizabeth Wangeshi, Head of Research at Gingi's Capital. Thank you. There you have the figures of the top gainers and losers, as well as the top movers. Interesting figures there. And Elizabeth Wangeshi is the Head of Research at Gingi's Capital, joining us here to help us understand the market. Interestingly, Wangeshi, why is it that the agriculture sector is performing extremely well?
Well, what we've seen is that investors have started accumulating on these stocks. One is that the expectation is that coffee prices and tea prices will continue going up, and these, of course, will boost the top revenue and overall boosting the bottom line performance. So the expectation is that investors will still continue adding more shares on these stocks, and we're expecting them to perform better than other companies in the stock exchange. If
you were to look at the data for the last 1 week, we saw eGads, being one of the best performers, changing its 22.81%. And of course, we had Sassini as well, and Samir. Is this a surprise for you?
It's not a surprise, actually. It's interesting because even last year we saw agriculture sectors performing well. They were the top gainers even for 2015. So right now what investors are looking forward to is adding more shares on these stocks. And the fact that these stocks are illiquid, that's why we are seeing a very huge increase in terms of the share price performance. So we expect to see that going on because it's been happening for the past few weeks in terms of the agriculture stocks expectation being positive.
Being positive.
Yes.
And when you go to top losers, National Bank, of course, is a no-brainer. How comes the manufacturing is a cocktail of manufacturing sector and the financial sector? What is not happening?
Well, for National Bank, it's just a matter of investor confidence. We saw the numbers for Q3. So National Bank hasn't been performing well in terms of provision. Loan note provision has been quite high. So investors are really losing confidence on the stock. When you look at the manufacturing sector, we've seen fuel prices going up. So the expectation is that the cost for all the manufacturing companies will go high, and these would mean a shrinking of their bottom line performance. That is in terms of the net profit. So if the cost is high, that means the companies won't really perform well.
Agriculture and of course the manufacturing sector are the two heartbeats of the nation, of the Kenyan economy. What conclusions do you make based on their performance?
For agriculture, we still expect it to be the top gainer in terms of sector performance for 2016 compared to other companies. And for the manufacturing sector, we've seen some companies actually coming up quite well. We've seen interest, for instance, in East Africa breweries, mostly from foreigners which have a high, who have a high interest on the stock. So we expect to see that going on.
And of course, finally, for the top movers, I'm surprised by the inclusion of Uchumi Supermarkets. Why is this happening?
Well, we've seen a lot of traction from investors. They've been accumulating. This is mainly because of the announcement that they'll be receiving a government bailout of 500 million. So this again is boosting confidence to investors because this stock has been one of the most underperforming stock in the company. And now investors are seeing a bright future for the company. So this makes them to add more shares in the stock.
Elizabeth, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on the Trading Bell.
Thank you very much.
Elizabeth Wangeshi is the head of research at Genghis Capital, joining us here on the Trading Bell to help us understand the market and of course break down the figures for us. Watching the Trading Bell, coming up next is a look at the Market 101.
I would like to know what online trading is and what it means for the common man, like the retail investor.
Online trading platform allows investors to trade from any location, from the comfort of their homes. It allows investors to trade at any point, buying and selling shares. It also allows investors to check on their statements and portfolio. And additionally, it also helps investors to just act on any information that comes up. So it's an easier way of just reducing costs because you don't need to go to the broker. You can just do it from anywhere via your phone, on your laptop, and trade comfortably from wherever. It's easy, and many investors are actually using it, and it makes it easy because you just need to send your money to the broker and they credit it to your account, and you can now comfortably buy or sell any share.
a historical perspective of the Nairobi Securities Exchange and, of course, the milestone it has covered. And at that point, we come to the end of Trading Bell today. Thank you very, very much indeed. And we highly appreciate your feedback. You can always get in touch with us through our Twitter page, which is at The Trading Bell. Our Facebook page is The Trading Bell TV Show. My Twitter handle is at O'Brien Kimani. And of course, our SMS line is 22162, and you start with the word BIZ, B-I-Z. At this point, thank you very, very much indeed for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again on Thursday next week, same time, right here on KBC Channel 1. Enjoy the rest of the viewing. Back to you, Broadcasting House.